Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Taylor.
I'm Blanca, and today is
Wicked Wine Wednesdays, where we talk about true crime and sample wines.
Today we'll be discussing the disgusting and awful Caylee Anthony.
So if you like wine and true crime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I just want to remind you guys that we will be talking about the wines that we tried at the end of the video, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned until then. And I also want to remind you guys that we will be posting a video every other Wednesday. So let's dive in. So we're talking about the Caylee Anthony case today because we had discussed that we were going to talk about the Letitia Stout case, but it turns out that there hasn't been much of an update, and her actual trial isn't until the 20th of this month. And it kind of looks like they're leaning towards not guilty. I don't want to say that, but it seems like there's a lot of things at play here, and I guess the reason why it got pushed back is because she wants to look at the evidence or lack of evidence, which kind of scares me.
Well, wasn't she like handed like the thing of evidence, and it's like almost like 2,000 pages? Like
yeah, but her like defense team and stuff is saying that there's like a lack of evidence, so they have to like go over everything. So it's like kind of scary because I really hope that she does get the guilty verdict. So Caylee Anthony, where to even start? She was born March 19th, 1986 in Warren, Ohio, which makes her a Pisces. Not that that's relevant, but it's interesting. She seemed to be pretty decent of a person in the beginning, and she ended up getting into high school, and her parents started to notice a huge change in her. She kind of started to become more secretive and like not telling them things, and kept them out of her life. She didn't want them to know any of the information that was going on in her life. So they kind of stopped prying for that information and let her do her, which, you know, fine, I guess, sure. But her parents did say when they looked back on it, they realized that they didn't remember who her friends were, her like boyfriends were, because that was the thing with Caylee too. She liked to always be in a relationship. She didn't like being single. She enjoyed that relationship life. So you could say she never really took the time to learn to love herself, which is unfortunate. And honestly, maybe she shouldn't love herself, but that's just me.
That's a whole nother level topic.
She's something else. So when she got into high school, she was dating this guy for a little bit named Jesse, and he came around, her family and everything, they liked him, but she didn't really tell them much about her relationship. She kind of kept it a secret. Then comes to her graduation, and her parents are telling her, okay, let's go to your graduation. What's the plan? And they plan this graduation party for her and everything. And just so you guys are aware, she seemed to lie about everything. Everything.
Literally everything.
She's like one of those kids that eats all the cookies in the cookie jar. And you're like, did you eat the cookies from the cookie jar?
I was gonna say the Cheeto commercial when they're like, did you eat my Cheetos?
It's just like Cheetos.
No.
Like, that seemed to be her. It's very much just like, no, I didn't touch the cookies, even though everybody's very aware that she touched the cookies. So she ends up not being able to graduate high school. But she didn't tell her parents this. She decided to keep that a secret up until the day before her graduation. And the only reason why her parents found out is because they called up the school and they were like, hey, Caylee's not telling us information about her graduation and whatnot, so can you guys tell us something? And they were gonna like, yeah, she's not graduating. And she was obviously very aware that she wasn't graduating, but I don't know how she thought she was going to keep up this lie, like make a fake graduation or something.
I'm sure you could probably get a fake diploma online.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I don't know. But they ended up having her graduation party. Like, she graduated So her parents obviously didn't discipline her or make her realize that these things that she was doing were wrong. And they just continued to live out this life for her, even though she didn't graduate high school. So everybody thought she did. She didn't. So back to her boyfriend, Jesse. They were together for a while and she ended up getting pregnant. And she decided to keep that a secret as well. And it's so weird because she was like showing but wearing baggy clothes so people wouldn't know. But there were a few times where her family members and stuff would see her and ask her mom if she was pregnant. And her mom would be like, oh no, she's just gaining weight. And that was like Casey's excuse too, is that she was just gaining weight. And like kind of almost made her mom feel like bad for asking her and why she was gaining weight. So she just kept saying she's just getting fat and keeping it a secret. And
I guess that's the one way to go.
yeah, I don't know. But she ends up, when she's, I think, 8 months pregnant, literally.
I think it was like 7
or 8 months, like right before she's about to give birth. She tells her parents, yeah, hey, I'm pregnant. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to keep it a secret for you too. So they didn't tell anybody in the family, not even her older brother who lived with them in this home. They didn't tell him at all up until like the day before she was going to give birth. And this seemed to cause a lot of animosity throughout the family because he's like, why the hell would you not tell me my sister's pregnant?
I mean, for real, like if they all lived in the same house, like why couldn't they all be in on the same secret?
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't want to tell somebody you're pregnant, you don't want to tell somebody you're pregnant. There's no excuses. But I mean, obviously he wasn't happy about it, and he didn't even go to her birth or anything, and it just seemed to be something that kind of tore the family up a little bit. But as far as everybody was concerned, Jesse was the father of the baby Caylee Anthony, who was born August 9th, 2005. So things started to look up for Casey. She just had this new baby, which I also forgot to mention she didn't really want to keep to begin with. She had told her parents that she wanted to put it up for adoption, and they basically said that's not an option.
Which is really sad because, I mean, obviously I know that there's like different ways to become parents and things like that, and, you know, foster care, adoption, all those things don't always work out. But, like, there is that chance that she could have had, like, a way better life, and obviously there's a solid chance she would still be alive to this day had Cindy decided that Casey could give her daughter up for adoption.
Yes. So her parents didn't want her to do that, which, I mean, I get. I wouldn't want my kid to get rid of my grandbaby either. You know, I'd want to have my grandchild. So anyway, she keeps Caylee, and her life is looking up. Things are going well for her, and she and Jesse get engaged. Jesse decides that he wants to ask for her hand in marriage and wants them to all be one big happy family, which made everybody kind of happy. Cindy wasn't that happy. Cindy is Casey's mother. She wasn't that happy because she felt like he was taking Casey and Caylee away from her. But things were going well. Soon after that, Jesse asks for a paternity test, and they do it, and long and behold, he is not the father of Caylee. So people kind of start asking her, well, who's the dad? And she says it's one of her ex-boyfriends who died in a horrible car accident. So it seems like she has a cover story for everything. But they did find that a man that she had dated before did die in a horrible accident. Oh. But he also wasn't the dad. So, yeah, there's that little fact out there. But it seems like she just pulled on to, like, whatever little truth there was.
We weren't lying when we say this girl lies about everything. Like, literally everything. Honestly, at this point, is Caylee Anthony even her name? Like, are we sure?
That's funny.
But I mean, she's lying about school. It got to the point where, I mean, she was failing all of her classes, and then, you know, they throw this whole party for her. Then there's Jesse. Poor Jesse, man. I think he may have known there was a chance that the baby wasn't his, but he still really wanted to make it work just to become like a family unit, and then finds out it's not his because your girlfriend just keeps on lying about everything. And one of her great lies is that she worked at Universal Studios.
Which she did, but not for as long as people thought she did.
She pretty much had told people that after she dropped out of high school, she had gotten a job at Universal Studios, and this was literally like her dream job. She was telling her parents about her coworkers every day that she got home. And I mean, my question is, like, how many times did you come up with stories? Like, where were you working that you had, like, stories?
She wasn't working anywhere. She was
watching TV and like, oh, let me put that episode. Like,
she was like, oh, yeah, that guy, Jordan, that's definitely a coworker. Cool.
Oh, right. There you go. That's probably how she got it. Netflix. Speculation there, guys.
In our opinion.
In our opinion. Anyway, she's working at Universal Studios, and she ends up befriending somebody named Jeff there. Now, Jeff apparently himself has a son, and he decides that he's going to give her the number to his nanny, which is also his ex-girlfriend, apparently. But don't worry, because like 5 minutes after this, she'll change the story and that like she just met her as a friend or something, as a coworker. Freaking A, man. This lady can't keep one story straight, can't she?
No, because they're lies.
No, I know. And the best part about Jeff giving her that phone number to his ex-girlfriend / nanny was that Jeff was paying for this nanny to watch Caylee and his son. I would almost be like, are you the dad? Because, like, why are you paying for childcare?
Yeah, who does it? Who does it?
I mean, let's face it, childcare is hella expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. It could happen.
Out of the nicest of somebody's heart, I do believe it could.
And let's mention that this nanny's name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, who went by Zanny.
Also known as Zanny.
Zanny the nanny.
You guys will probably catch on to that one in a little bit, but we'll get there. Now, here's the best part about Zanny the nanny. No one knows what the hell she looks like.
Nope. Nobody's met her. Her parents never met her.
Her parents never met her. Casey couldn't even give you a straight answer on what she looked like, where she lived, or anything like that. I mean, I think she gave the description to the police officers that she was a Puerto Rican, I want to say, or like Dominican.
Puerto Rican and black.
Yeah. So again, it's just like finding somebody else to put the blame on, whatever. But she's trying to blame it on that, and that she was a very tall woman with like very beautiful eyes. I think she told the officers that she was like a 10, yeah. Which...
What a weird way to describe somebody.
Why you would have to tell the officers what you would rate your nanny?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
She obviously thinks that that's a way to describe somebody, but...
I don't know. Anyway, she also gives an address eventually later on. In the meantime, she meets this guy named Ricardo, who is an aspiring DJ. Because that's what you want around your kids.
Yep.
Somebody that parties constantly for a living. Hey. God, I don't know. I can't stand her.
Neither.
Anyway, she meets him. She decides that she's like overly in love with him, because obviously who doesn't fall in love with the new boyfriend that you get every other week, because apparently you just keep falling in love with new people.
And it seems like she would be wherever he was all the time. But where was Caylee? Because she was always going to the clubs, like wherever he was DJing, she was there.
She happened to, she was with Zanny. That's what she was with. She was with Zanny, remember?
Right. She also would she would make posts and like contact people almost like a club promoter for her boyfriend or whatever, and would be like, oh, I'm gonna be here this night, like, are you coming? And she would like invite people to come out with her. It was just trying to get people out and go out with her, and nobody knows where Caylee was at this point. She says that she was with Zanny, but there's no 100% fact of any of that. So what was she doing with her? Where was she? And this is going to become a lot later, but a lot of speculation thinks that she had her in the trunk of her car while she was out partying, and that she wasn't being babysat or anything, that she was just sleeping in the trunk of her car. That's going to come much later, but that's speculation. So Cindy and George give Casey their car. It's actually George's car, but they give her a car in order for her to drive around places, because she had decided that her and Caylee were going to move into her boyfriend's apartment.
Sure, whatever.
I don't know what she was thinking, but whatever. So she has to have this car. So she's driving around this car, and she ends up having to go to a check cashing place. I don't know where she's getting these checks, but she has to go to a check cashing place because
that's where I'm like, did she have some type of job?
I think they're all just fake checks, because that's what she ends up getting arrested for later.
Yeah. Okay, they were, I think.
Yeah, so she ends up going to this check cashing place, and she has to go there because she's running out of gas. Like, she is running on fumes. And when she gets to the check cashing place, she runs out of gas.
Shocking.
So what do when you run out of gas? You abandon the car, right?
Well, I mean, I would hope that you would call a tow company.
Yeah, but that was going to be too expensive.
Because it would have been the whole, like, check that I guess she was cashing.
So she decides to just abandon the car there. I don't even know how long it was there, but she ends up...
I think it was there for, like, a solid couple of weeks, because then they were like, why is this car still here?
So they end up calling a tow company or whatever. And the tow company calls George and says, hey, we have your car. And George is like, what the, like, where is Casey? Why is my car chilling in this check cashing place? And so he goes to pick up his car, and when the guy takes him back to his car and says, here's your car, they open the door, and they both get a whiff of something very pungent. And he kind of tells the guy, like, oh my god, it smells like death in this car. Like, it smells like a dead body. Which is not something that you want to smell in a car from your daughter, whose daughter you haven't talked to. Like, your grandbaby, you haven't talked to her at all, and you're wondering, are they okay?
In that month time frame, sorry, I don't think we mentioned it, her parents were constantly calling Casey. And a lot of the times it was either she was with Zanny, or she was sleeping, or she was like outside, or she was with another friend. It was just always some excuse, to the point where they're like, it's been over a month, why can't we talk to her? Like, let us talk to Caylee.
Yeah, there was always an excuse on why they couldn't talk to her. They get the car back to the house, and George tells Cindy, hey, come smell the car. Like, it doesn't smell right. And so Sydney goes over and smells the car, and she tells George, it smells like death. And so they go through the car, and they open the trunk, and there's a trash bag in the trunk. According to them, they didn't open the trash bag. They just threw it in the trash. Sydney's like over her daughter's shit, and is like, all right, let's get down to business, because something's happening. So she shows up to the boyfriend's house and is like, hey, where is Caylee? And where is Casey? She walks in, and they're all sitting in the living room early in the morning doing drugs together. And Sydney's telling Casey, hey, like, get your shit together. Let's go. Your daughter's gone. Where is she? And she's saying, oh, she's with Zanny. She's with Zanny. And her mom's like, I don't believe you. Like, let's go. And I guess Casey runs out all pissed off, like, how can you do that in front of my boyfriend? Like, how are you going to embarrass me like that I don't know. So they get back to the house, and Cindy's telling Casey, hey, here's the car. Like, nobody's giving me any information. If you don't tell me what's going on, like, I'm going to call the police. And Casey's just saying she's with Zanny. So Cindy decides that she's going to call the police. Her first phone call, she calls them and says, hey, my daughter's here. We just found her after a month of not seeing her, and her daughter's not with her. Our grandbaby isn't with her, and we need to know what's going on. And I need somebody here. I have somebody here that needs to be arrested. That's like word for word what she says. And she says that Casey needs to be arrested because she stole her car and her money. So the police are like, okay, like, we'll send somebody over there. Probably not taking it that serious, because why would they? They're just like, okay, somebody's having a family dispute. Sydney walks past, I guess, Casey's brother's room, and Casey's in there talking to him, saying that Zanny basically kidnapped Caylee, and that Casey went to drop her off, and Zanny basically held her hostage and was like, you can't have her, like, get out of here, and goes on her way and kidnaps her daughter. And she couldn't call the cops or anything because there was, like, these steps that Casey had to follow in order to get Caylee back. But I don't think those steps included going out partying with your boyfriend, but I could be wrong. The second 911 call that her mom makes, which all of this is taking place on July 15th, 2008. She makes this second phone call and says, hey, my daughter just said to my son that my granddaughter's been kidnapped by the babysitter, and we just got the car back, and it smells like a dead body in my daughter's car. Word for word, what she tells the 911 operator. Which sticks with her later on, which should, obviously.
So now by the time the police are involved, you know, they were thinking that maybe there was going to be like an outside factor. So at this point, they've done a little research on Casey, and they're like, you know what? We want you to show us where Zanny lives. And we want you to take us where you dropped off Casey at her apartment, and we want you to show us everything. Like, we need to see this now. So she takes them to this apartment building, and they're like trying to, because she said that the phone number she had gotten from Zanny was no longer in service, but she also told the cops that she had just talked to Caylee the day before on, what was it, July 15th, that she had just talked to her, and again on July 9th, like a few days before that, and that everything was okay, and that she was going to be getting Caylee back for her birthday as long as she followed all these steps. But again, the phone number is disconnected. We go to this apartment building. The police are talking to the landlord, and the landlord's like, no one's lived here since March. So,
like, what apartment building? Just a random apartment building?
For real. I think she just, like, probably Googled one. That looks like Zanny would live there. Sure.
Like,
I really don't
crazy.
know. I really don't know. Now, they do ask to look at security camera footage from around the apartment complex, because at this point, given the description from Casey over what Zanny would look like, and along with the photos that they've seen of Caylee, they would have seen something on the security camera footage. Mm-hmm. Not once did they see any person that matched what Casey was trying to say Zanny looked like, and at no point did they ever see Casey or Caylee on these security cameras. So...
Ever.
Like, what the hell?
Ever.
Now, again, I said they were doing their little investigations on Miss Caylee Anthony over there, and they learned that she may have told everybody she was employed at Universal Studios, but like we kind of mentioned earlier, not as long as she was trying to tell everybody. So police knew she was not employed at Universal Studios, but they did not want to reveal this information to her because they're really trying to catch her off guard at this point.
Like, why not play it?
Basically, just see if she'll slip up on any information for them. So they basically are like, we want you to take us to Universal Studios and we want to talk to your boss so we can question them. Homegirl took them to Universal Studios, walked past the security guard, through the employee entrance, was like in the office where the bosses were, I guess, and was literally taking the cops around in a circle before she was like, I don't work here. Like, what? I feel like you guys really could have just saved yourself a lot of time. You could have just told them in the parking lot.
Like, what did she think?
And I just want to know, like, why didn't nobody stop that?
Like, what the hell? Like, what did she think she was gonna get away with? This chick is on a whole nother level.
Pretty much, once they find out the information from that, and she confesses she doesn't work, she is pretty much arrested right there for child neglect, giving false information to officers, and obstructing an investigation. Because, I mean, she was giving the false information. You are obstructing an investigation because why aren't you helping find where the hell your child is?
Yep.
Like, I don't get it. I just don't. I really want to know, like, was she gonna find somebody and be like,
and pretend,
hope that, like, the cop wasn't gonna be next to them and just be like, pretend to be my boss. I was here on this day.
I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand her thought process, but that's probably because I don't lie about it. Like, what? Like, this case isn't funny, obviously. Everything that went down is not funny, but Casey's mindset
maybe
is like,
this little, like, Universal Studio thing.
Yeah, that's
like
hilarious. It's hilarious.
I feel like if I was an employee and I saw this happening, and then if I walked by and heard, yeah, I don't work here, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Like, why are you back here?
I'd be like, security.
Like, how did you get here?
After being arrested on July 16th, she then hires a lawyer about 2 days after because she was denied bail originally.
Mm-hmm.
However, she then hires this lawyer named Jose Baez. He's an interesting one too. We'll get to that. At this point, he does write a letter to the judges, the courts, and all of that, basically saying to allow Casey to be able to be posted for bail. She will be cooperating with the police on this full investigation, blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. At that point, for some awful reason, they decide to grant her a bail of $500,000, which, who posts it? Dear mom and dad. When they post her bail, they do release her, and now she's released, and this is about August 21st, so about a month later. However, she is released on the condition that she does have to be wearing an ankle monitoring device because, let's face it, she's been lying. I'm sure at this point they probably do think she's a flight risk because I would think she's a flight risk. Yeah. So I'm sure they want to make sure that she isn't going to go anywhere. She's released on the 21st of August with her ankle monitoring device. Now, remember those fake checks that we had kind of brought up beforehand when we were like, what is she cashing? Now, she went to go try and cash 4 different checks, roughly around for $650, I think, total. And, of course, that gets her arrested again. The funniest part about all of this to me is she's released from prison on the 21st, is caught trying to cash these fake checks on August 29th. So, literally 8 days later. And then is arrested again on September 5th. And then is allowed to be posted up for bail for another $500,000. But don't worry, dear mommy got her on that one too.
So like she mentioned, she had been arrested and released on September 5th, 2008 for the checks that she tried to cash. And the police, during this time that she was released, tried to get the whole family to take a lie detector test, which they refused to do. which, I mean, kind of makes sense. I'm sure the attorneys told them not to. But September 15th, 10 days later, after she's been released from jail for those checks, she turns herself in for fake checks on September 15th, 10 days later, like I said. And she's released on bail for $1,250.
Well, I mean, it's a lot cheaper than the other two.
Again, she's fitted with a tracking device and goes on her way again. Then, shortly after that, September 25th, they did find a woman named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. And she was a picture that they showed Casey in a lineup of people to see if she would choose her out, like, as the nanny. She didn't. And so Zenaida was like, well, I'm going to sue her for defamation of character because she straight up basically gave this full-blown name and it was a real person and it wasn't the one she was talking about because who knows if that one really even existed.
There's many speculation that Zanny the nanny is a non-existent human being
for specific reasons,
which we'll still get into later. Yes. But at this
point, we keep saying that, but it's because there's so much that's like already adding up that like we're gonna end up getting to, which is crazy because there's so many layers to the story. It's like a fucking onion.
It's like, I was about to say it's an onion.
Yeah, like there's so much that you're like, oh well, this makes sense, and then it brings back up later in the case like, yeah, it did make sense. It's like one of those things, like if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, it's a duck. And that is this case, which is insane how it plays out. But the cops end up investigating everything and doing a search through the house and the car. And when they get into the trunk of the car, they notice that there are kind of stains on the trunk of the car, which look to be the shape of a small body. And they tore that out, brought it to the lab, and they brought dogs in. Before they tore it out, they brought dogs in to see if there was any indication, cadaver dogs, if there was any indication that there had been a dead body there before. The dogs lit up next to the car. They took that into the lab and they end up finding out that it is fluid that is decomposition fluid. And it didn't have blood or anything, so they couldn't test that, but they did find hair in the trunk of the car. And when they ran that through the testing, it could have been Casey, Caylee, or Cindy. And when they did all the testing on the hair, they realized that it was decomposed hair and it had not been treated. And both Cindy and Casey both had treated hair, so it wouldn't have been theirs. So they immediately think, well, it had to have been Caylee's. There's a place, I think it was like 11 miles from the Anthony's house, that a meter guy was walking through and he sees a skull. And he pokes at it and realizes, oh, it's a real skull. This is legit. So he calls the cops and tells them, I found a skull. But not to mention that he tried to report this to the cops numerous times and they didn't follow up with it. They just thought like, oh, he's messing around and didn't follow up with it until he finally full blown had the skull in front of him and was able to say, this is a skull. Because all the other times he was looking from a distance and was like, I think I see a skull. So when he was finally able to tell them, this is a for real skull, they went out, looked, and they did find the skull. And they realized that it was the skull of a child. And very close to that, they found the other parts of this body that was part with the skull, and it was wrapped up in a Winnie and the Pooh blanket, and and it was like in a kind of like laundry bag. So this gave them a warrant to be able to full-blown search the entire family home. And when they went into Caylee's room, they realized that her room was entirely Winnie the Pooh decorated. It was just all Winnie the Pooh. And then they also found a bag that matched perfectly with the laundry bag that they found with the body. So they immediately were like, okay, well, whoever did this obviously wasn't a stranger because they had access to Caylee's room and was able to get this blanket and get this laundry basket. And this gave them enough to be able to completely arrest Casey for first-degree murder and aggravated manslaughter of a child. That's what they were trying to go for. And she was being held without bail this time. Thank God. And they were trying for the death penalty.
This vehicle of George's / Casey's was a freaking, I guess, like gold mine,
yeah,
for the cops, because like we said, there was staining, which proved that there was decomposition of a body. Now, on top of that, there was a bunch of trash in the car as well, which would coincide with almost kind of like how Casey was living, with her erratic behavior, the fact that the car was abandoned. It was said that there was like an old pizza box in there that had maggots on it as well, and that when they were testing for the fluid and stuff in the trunk of the car that they had found, it was confirmed that there was chloroform within the fluid. So whether or not there was like DNA within the fluid or not, for sure the staining of it was some type of chloroform, which really sucks. And on December 11th, like we said, a body was found close to the Anthony's home, which did give the police this whole warrant to go and search the Anthony house. And let me tell you, they loved that search because they were hoping for anything. And what on earth did they find on the Anthony's computers? Is like a search about chloroform. Because why would you need about chloroform? Like, I don't know if I gotta know about it, but sure, if you gotta really look it up. But, again, dear Mumsy over there. So many opinions on that one right now, but whatever. We'll get to that later. They decide to interview Mom because at this point, I don't know if they think she knows something or what's going on, but they're interviewing everybody too. It's not,
and they're
just
not getting
Mom.
many answers from Casey. So.
They're not, because Casey will literally give you the runaround and keep lying to you. I mean, she walked through Universal Studios and was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna find someone to be my boss."
Yeah,
whatever.
She'll lie about anything, apparently.
So now they're interviewing the family. They interview Mom, and at this point, Mom decides to go back on one of her 911 calls. If you remember us talking about that. Now, if you remember, we specifically said, and there is full-blown recording, transcripts, whatever you want to look and call for, they have a recording of Cindy Anthony basically saying that it smells like a dead body in my daughter's car.
Mm-hmm.
Backtracks the whole statement. I don't know if you've ever smelt death. Unfortunately, it is something that I have smelt. We won't kind of get into how I know that. I promise I haven't murdered anybody, though. But it is a very, very, very distinct smell. Like,
I feel like nothing else would smell like that. Not even pizza with maggots on it.
There is literally no other smell in the universe that would match the smell of death. I haven't found it, couldn't tell you, I don't know. It is just the most distinct smell in the universe. Mm-hmm. And then for her to specifically say on a 911 recording, it smells like a dead body, and then try to be like, it's just a leftover pizza and the maggots. Like,
The cops were like, okay, sure. But what about the chloroform?
Let me get... So now she tries to, because I kind of do bring it up, you know, like there was a search for chloroform on your computer. Like, do you want to tell us anything about that? And she's just like, oh, my dog got into the bamboo the other day, so I was looking up chlorophyll to see if that was dangerous for the dog to be eating.
And then she says, and then a search for chloroform came up and I looked up chlorophyll, and so I clicked on
that. But they did find out, because obviously can be tracked on a lot of things and they can see the times and things that you search things. And the time for the chloroform search, Caylee Anthony was the only person that was in the house that would have been able to make that Google search.
And not to mention, her parents wouldn't have known that she's the only one in the house because they thought she was working. And what she would do is she would leave the house with Caylee and make them think that she was going to take her to the nanny and then go to work. And she would drive around the block or whatever until she knew that her parents were out of the house. And they would go back to the house and just like sit on the computer.
On December 19th, it is confirmed that the remains that were found were that of Caylee Anthony. It seems like Cindy would do anything for Casey. Like, at this point, she's already lying about the chloroform search.
The pizza.
All of a sudden, it went from Cindy participating to Cindy showing the exact same behavior as Casey, where it's just one lie after another, nothing is going straight. And there's Casey's dad, who just seems like he's genuinely concerned, just kind of wants to know what happened, is just very upset.
He's taking it the hardest for sure.
And on January 23rd of 2009, so maybe like a month after, you know, Caylee's body is found, he checks himself into a hotel room and attempts to commit suicide. Now, the only reason that they really think it was an attempt at suicide was mainly because he was found slightly unconscious but was still okay, and there was a lengthy note kind of written to the whole family. And he ended the note with basically saying, like, Caylee, I'm coming for you. Or, like, here I come. Something basically, you know, just like that he was going to be joining her again.
During the trial and everything that went through, she ended up pleading guilty on January 26, 2010 for 13 fraudulent checks. But everything else, she didn't do.
She pled not guilty to everything in regards to her child, the death, the murder. Everything was not guilty. But I was guilty for the checks.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, is they tried to say that Caylee drowned in the pool in the family home or whatever. And she panicked, that Casey panicked or whatever and got rid of the body. But the thing is like, there was chloroform in the car. And also there was a search when they were doing the searches that it was basically undetectable suffocation. And after she had been indicted and everything, all of her searches had been deleted. Everything on the computer, which...
It was at least like 2 days before she was about to be arrested. She deleted everything.
Yeah.
Which, like,
is
way
suspicious.
to look suspicious, homegirl.
Everything is very suspicious. And I think, in my opinion, I think her mom had a lot of play in it. Because let's be honest, Casey isn't the smartest.
I think mommy just helped.
Yeah, I think her mom covered her tracks. And it's unfortunate. Courts were kind of like, why have you lied so much? Where did you learn to lie? And she turned to, because her father molested her from a very young age. And that's how she learned to lie, because she had to do it from the very beginning of her life. And that, like, her dad is the one responsible for for her death. And I'm saying, like, her dad, like, it's ridiculous, but it's like, I mean, maybe... You know, we can't rule anything out. Nobody can rule anything out at this point. But it just seems like she's trying to grab onto anything that she possibly can.
She'll put the blame on anyone that's literally not herself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it just seems that she's trying her hardest to get away with it. And unfortunately, she did. The skull of Caylee, when it was found, had duct tape on it.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody duct taped her mouth, and it just seems like, who else would do that? You know, like somebody random and dispose of her body right next to the house.
Or how about the mom that didn't want her and then is just partying with her DJ boyfriend?
One of the neighbors of the Anthonys had said that Casey and one of her boyfriends or whatever had borrowed a shovel to dig up bamboo root. And I'm not really sure if that's the case.
Root, but the dog was eating all the bamboo.
Which is why they were trying to get rid of it, of course.
Oh.
She got acquitted.
There was definitely some shady stuff going on in that trial, besides trying to blame other people for it, because, and I really don't know if this is an actual thing, but I would assume that it's a thing, because I feel like for the most part, if I've seen anything in regards to like a publication for jurors, you either don't see the jurors on TV or they go by a number. You don't ever get associated with a name. Like, you don't know who this juror is. And all of the jurors on the Caylee Anthony case were revealed by name and receiving death threats.
By the judge. The judge released them.
So, in my opinion, and I guess you can call it speculation, whatever, again, my opinion, is that that was the best way to get out of jail free card, because the jurors were terrified.
Oh my God. She gets released from jail and goes on with her life, and the thing is, you know, nobody knows for sure if she did it, I guess. There is no 100% proof, I guess. But her whole family is just living their lives. And I'm sure her dad is getting eaten up inside, but her mom is still gung-ho for Casey. And I can't imagine how Casey is living her life, like everything is okay. But she's like done an interview kind of recently, and says she's living her life and that like everything is great. And they basically ask her, how do you think Caylee would be now? And she was like, oh, she'd be a badass. Like, she'd be amazing. Talking all this, like, great things about her. And I think it's all just to hide the fact that she did this to her daughter. She was obviously a 19-year-old teen mom who wanted to live her life and took her daughter's life in order to do that. And it's just something that I hope she gets haunted for the rest of her life. But it's Caylee Anthony, so honestly, she's probably fine with it.
I heard she's trying to become a PI. I don't know if she actually is, but I just think that's like hilarious. Because what, babe, are you going to investigate yourself to make sure nothing else comes up? Like,
yeah, probably. And the thing is too, I don't know if this is true. I'd seen it a couple years ago. I don't know if it's actually going to happen. But she's supposed to come out with a book or like a movie or something with OJ. And it's supposed to be with...
How we got away with murder?
No. It's supposed to be like something about like dealing with being like the most hated person in the world or something like that, or like being the most hated person and like not being guilty. Like, I don't know. She's also coming out with her own book. I think it's supposed to come out this year. I don't know if it's come out yet. I don't even care. But it's supposed to be like the tell-all of everything. And I think too the biggest reason why she got away with it is because people couldn't fathom a mom doing this to their kids. This was 2008, you know, we're in 2021. Things are drastically different. But I think in 2008, there wasn't many cases of this happening. And I think people just couldn't believe it. And they just decided they'd rather turn a blind eye than to actually charge somebody for something that they've done. And I don't know. I don't know how they got there. I really, really don't. At the end of the day, Caylee's life was taken from her from a sick, twisted,
evil, and sadistic person.
Just an awful, awful mother. Some people don't deserve to have kids, and she was one of them.
That's the logic in it too that I don't understand. Is like, I get it. If you didn't want to be the mom and all these other things, but like, your parents were helping you out. Your parents full blown let you stay in their home, gave your daughter a room, provided her with food, clothes, anything she needed, but you still feel the need to be the sick person that you are and take her life because it's an inconvenience to you. Like, I wish you were rotting in a damn cell. But whatever, because apparently you're not guilty, even though the whole world thinks you are, just like OJ, because one piece of evidence was good enough to get you off.
And I really don't know how she got acquitted from this case. I really, really don't know. Like, at least with OJ, it was like, oh, the glove doesn't fit, so you must acquit. But with Casey, like, what? How?
I think that's what it was.
What in the world would get her acquitted? Like, there was no hard evidence to get her acquitted.
No, there was none, but they kept pointing the finger at everybody. Anything and everything that could go wrong with this trial did. And this is what I hate most about it. And what I think we'll find the saddest is that whole case should have revolved around Caylee and how Caylee lost her life. And it was It was a damn circus and parade for freaking Caylee Anthony. I was like, oh, look at me. I did something, but like, don't worry. I'm going to pretend I didn't do it.
Yeah, and I hope she doesn't have any other kids. Because we might be visiting this case again.
One of the other theories that was circling around was George's theory. Now, this is Casey's dad, if you don't remember, but his probably is like the one that makes the most sense because I could see it like if they did this and then they went with the chloroform to just kind of like let her go peacefully, whatever. Not that, again, she shouldn't have gone at all, but whatever. Now, George's theory is that Zanny the nanny was a non-existent person, which is something that we've kind of already mentioned, that many people in the universe believe to be true. And the other reason, too, is because I really don't know if Xanax is still called Zans or Xannies or anything like that.
I don't know.
But when Xanax hit the market and everybody was buying it and taking it off the street, it was like, oh, I'm going to go take my Zans tonight. Like, has anybody bought the Xannies? Like, oh, we need the Zans. Like, Zans and Xannies was the no name for Xanax.
Yeah.
And then she happens to have a nanny that they call Zanny.
What a coincidence.
George thinks that Casey was actually drugging Caylee with Xanax because it would obviously calm her down and put her to sleep because it just knocks you out. But that was their theory, was that was her way of just like, here, take this Xanax and like, I'm gonna go party and do my thing over here. It's just so sad because we'll never know what happened to Caylee. And I just truly wish from the bottom of my heart that someone would come forward with this and just actually say what happened, because
the only person that would be able to do that is Casey, and it would never happen.
No.
There's a girl here on YouTube who does murder makeup and mystery Mondays.
I think that was like
Bailey Sarian. Yeah, she does videos. She did an interview with Nancy Grace, which was really good. They talked about the Caylee Anthony case. I haven't watched it in quite a while, but I remember there was something that Nancy Grace talked about that stuck with me. And she talks about how she thinks that Casey would use chloroform to knock Caylee out and put her in the trunk of the car and put tape over her mouth in case she did wake up, she couldn't make a noise. And she would put her in the trunk of the car and close it and go on with her day. And this worked for her all the time until one time it didn't. And she thinks that she did this in order to live her life and make sure that Caylee was asleep and doing her thing since she didn't have a nanny, and she would just leave her in the trunk of the car. And that goes into the whole play with the whole Xanax thing too. It could be either one. I think she would knock Caylee out and put her in the trunk of the car and leave her there until she was done doing whatever she was doing. And it's just awful to think that, because, you know, there are like sleeping vitamins or like sleeping pills or whatever that you can give toddlers. And I don't know what's in them, but there have been times where I've given my son some because he's been sick and he won't sleep. And I want him to get the best sleep he can. It's not because I want to go out and do something, but it's because I want him to be able to sleep even though he's sick.
Oh, yeah, I think I get my daughter, sorry, not my son. My daughter. Bee, right? Yeah, it's like the little like Zarabees, and it comes with like melatonin for like their night one or something like that.
And that's the thing is like I give him like half of the recommended dose for his age because I'm like, I don't want something to happen. And I feel guilty giving him that. And for Casey to be able to be like, oh, I'll give her a chloroform or Xanax or whatever it is for her to knock out, for me to do my thing.
And throw him in the trunk? Like,
yeah, is insane. Like, I could not imagine. I have my son in his room, and I have the monitor that could hook up to my phone from wherever I am in the room. I mean, wherever I am in the world. But I am not even gonna go down the street. Like, I could not.
You're like, I'm a Postmates, Uber Eats.
Yeah, like I cannot leave my house, even just to take a walk down the street. It's not gonna happen unless my kid's awake. And what? To think that Casey went through this thought process and thought, yeah, sounds like a good idea to me, is insane. Time to end this video on a more positive note. We always try this at the end of videos, and it's not always the best, but we're going to talk about the wines that we tried and let you know what we think. So the wine that I have today is, how do you say it?
Let me see. I think it's Lar de Oro.
Lar de Oro?
Something of gold.
So this is the one I tried, Lar del Oro.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you would have to do like that on the R, but I do it because anytime I do an R, sorry.
But this is from Spain.
I know.
Beautiful.
Damn.
So this wine I actually got from one of my friends. She got it for me for my birthday because my birthday just passed this last week, and I'm a Taurus. So she thought it would be cool because the little bowl on here. I don't know if it's focusing.
There you go.
There you go. There's a nice little bowl on there. She was like, oh, you're a Taurus. It'll be perfect. So, yeah, I think it's really, really good. It contains sulfates. It's a Spanish red. And it's a little bit more on the bold side than light side. It's in the middle between smooth and tannic. It's more on the dry side than the sweet side, which I get. And it's in the middle between soft and acidic. I'm not really sure what kind of wine this is. It just says red wine. It doesn't say what kind it is, but I don't know.
It didn't say like red blend or anything?
Just says red wine.
Interesting.
I do get more of I don't know. I feel like it's a mix between Merlot and a Cabernet. Like it's dry, but also not too dry.
Okay.
But it has notes of cherry, strawberry, raspberry, dark fruit, and black cherry. And it pairs well with beef, pasta, veal, and poultry. I feel like not many of the red wines paired well with pasta. Usually those are white wines. But this one says it goes well with pasta.
Ooh, interesting.
So
it usually is white wines that go with pastas.
Yeah, but it's good. I like it a lot.
Alrighty. The one... I don't even know what the hell I tried today, guys.
Lambrusco.
Okay. Lambrusco?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. I tried that one. But there wasn't much for us to find right there. So
it's an Italian wine.
Down here, I was about to say.
Oh.
It's from Italia. So maybe it'll go with some pizza, some pasta, some lasagna. Now I'm craving Italian. Sorry. And it says, it's an authentic, unique product from Emilia Romagna? I don't know. Obtained through traditional fermentation, it is one of the oldest grape varietals in Italy. Oh, interesting. Nice. It's a soft red wine. I don't know what I just said. It's a soft red wine. Oh, did I? It's a soft red wine with delicate sweetness, raspberry, and pomegranate, followed with subtle acidity with purpley pink bubbles, and it's best served chilled. I did not have it chilled, but it was still delicious. Definitely very bubbly because it's next to my ear and I can hear the bubbles.
Oh yeah, and it's closed.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I told you when I opened it earlier, and I was like, is it gonna like shake up at me?
Yeah.
Like I thought it was gonna be like a soda just go pop it. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's really good there. So the thing is that I think we've had another Lambrusco on here. Lambrusco. We've had another one on here, which I've drank a lot of. I can't remember what it's called, but it is Lambrusco, but I think they're like different name brands. Like this one says like Magari or Magari. I don't know.
However you say it. We're not Italian. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I am, but not really.
I don't think there's any Italian in me.
But yeah, so it's an Italian wine. That's nice.
We should do a 23andMe and just read off all our results.
Yeah, for real.
I'm literally probably everything in freaking South America.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe something from Spain.
Whatever we are, like, we could just be like, oh, we're going to try all the wines from all of our places.
I'm in. That would actually be fun.
If we could find them. Amazon.
Yeah.
Not sponsored.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we can't wait to see you next Wednesday. Bye!